6 months later. The lecture hall at Sacred Heart School of Nursing smelled like coffee and anxiety. I sat in the back row, my notebook open, trying to focus on Professor Marcelli's explanation of post-operative care protocols while my phone buzzed silently in my bag. 3 texts from Maria. Alessandro asking for you. Won't eat lunch. 1 from Azeglio. He's fine. Maria's being dramatic. Focus on your class. And 1 photo. Alessandro sitting at the kitchen table, arms crossed, bottom lip jutted out in his signature pout. The caption read, "Mama, come home." My heart squeezed. I'd only been gone 4 hours. Miss Randi? I looked up to find Professor Marcelli watching me expectantly, along with 30 other students. I'm sorry. What was the question? A few snickers rippled through the room. The professor's expression remained neutral. I asked if you could explain the priority assessment for a patient presenting with post-surgical complications. My mind blanked for a half-second. Not because I didn't know the answer, but because 6 months ago I'd been homeless, and now I was sitting in a nursing lecture being treated like I belonged here. Airway breathing, circulation, I started, my voice steadying. Then assess for signs of infection, hemorrhage, or adverse reaction to anesthesia. Priority depends on presentation, but life-threatening complications take precedence over pain management or mobility concerns. Professor Marcelli nodded. Correct. And why might we see... The lecture continued, and I forced myself to focus. This was what I'd asked for, something that was mine, separate from the Villa and Azeglio's world. I needed to prove I could still be Lisa Randi, not just Alessandro's mother or Azeglio's, whatever I was to him. We still hadn't defined that. Vittorio was waiting in the parking lot when class ended, leaning against the black sedan that had become my regular transport. A few of my classmates noticed, hard not to, given the car's obvious expense and Vittorio's equally obvious security presence. How was class? He asked, opening the door. Educational. I slid into the back seat. You don't have to do this every time, you know. I could take the bus. Mr. Panicucci would disagree. Mr. Panicucci worries too much. Vittorio's lips twitched in what might have been amusement. After that letter 6 months ago, can you blame him? I couldn't. There had been 2 more since then. Anonymous, threatening, reminders that Alessandro's existence made Azeglio vulnerable. Nothing actionable, nothing specific enough to trace. Just enough to keep us all looking over our shoulders. Any new developments? I asked. Nothing concrete, but we're watching. We always were. The drive back to the villa took 40 minutes through afternoon traffic. I spent it reviewing my notes, trying not to think about how much my life had changed. How I'd gone from struggling to survive to struggling with organic chemistry. From wondering where my next meal would come from to worrying about maintaining my GPA. Strange problems to have. Better problems, but problems nonetheless. Alessandro met me at the door, launching himself at my legs the moment I entered. Mama, you back? I scooped him up, breathing in his scent. Baby shampoo and the cookies Maria had clearly let him sneak. At 18 months, he was all energy and opinions, growing so fast I sometimes mourned the tiny infant I'd found in the alley. I'm back. Were you good for Maria? So good, he assured me, then immediately contradicted himself. I only cried a little bit. Only a little bit, huh? And I didn't throw my vegetables. I put them on the floor very careful. I tried not to laugh. Alessandro, but Papa said I have to eat them at dinner, so it's okay. Where is Papa? Office. Talking to the serious men. The serious men. Alessandro's term for Azeglio's business associates, the ones who came to the villa despite Azeglio's promise to keep that world separate. It had been happening more often lately. Quiet meetings in the study, conversations that stopped when I entered rooms. I'd been trying not to notice, trying to trust Azeglio's assurances that it was just legitimate business, nothing dangerous. But Rosa's warning from 6 months ago echoed in my mind. Make sure you're choosing this with your eyes open. Okay, baby, let's get you a real snack, and then we'll read books before dinner. 3 books, 2 books, 4 books, 2, and that's final. He considered this with the seriousness of someone negotiating a major deal. 2 long books? Deal. We settled in the library with graham crackers and milk. Alessandro snuggled against my side while I read his current favorite, a story about a brave little mouse. He knew all the words by now, recited them along with me, his small voice full of drama. This was real. This mattered. Whatever complications existed in the adult world, this moment, this child, this love, was worth protecting. Lisa. I looked up to find Azeglio in the doorway, jacket off, tie loosened, looking tired in a way that had nothing to do with physical exhaustion. Hey, Alessandro was just showing me his negotiation skills. Wonder where he learned those. Azeglio's expression softened as he looked at his son. How was school? Good. Hard. I have an exam next week on pharmacology that's going to kill me. You'll do fine. You always do. The confidence in his voice still surprised me sometimes, like he genuinely believed I could do this, could rebuild my life, could be more than the broken woman he'd found 6 months ago. The meetings? I asked carefully. Azeglio's expression shuddered slightly. Just business. Nothing to worry about. But the way he said it made me worry more. Alessandro, oblivious to the tension, wiggled down from the couch and ran to his father. Papa, Mama read me 2 long books. Did she? You're very lucky. I know. Alessandro grabbed both our hands, trying to pull us together. Now you read. We ended up on the couch, Alessandro between us, taking turns reading pages while he provided commentary and corrections. These moments had become our routine, the 3 of us, separate but together, building something that almost looked like normal. Almost. But normal families didn't have armed security, didn't receive threatening letters, didn't have one parent whose name made people nervous, and another who'd been homeless a year ago. We were something else entirely, and I still wasn't sure if that was enough. After Alessandro was asleep, I found Azeglio on the terrace overlooking the garden, a glass of whiskey in his hand. Can we talk? I asked. He gestured to the chair beside him. Always. I sat, gathering my thoughts. The meetings, the security, the letters. I know you said your business stays separate, but it feels like it's getting closer. I'm handling it. That's not an answer. Azeglio was quiet for a long moment, his jaw tight. There are people who see Alessandro as leverage, who think his existence makes me weak. I'm dealing with it quietly, carefully, but yes, it requires more attention than I'd like. Is he in danger? Not while I'm breathing. The certainty in his voice should have been comforting. Instead, it reminded me how much of our safety depended on one man's ability to control an uncontrollable world. What if something happens to you? I asked quietly. What if... That's why you're his legal guardian. Why you have access to accounts, resources, everything you'd need to disappear if necessary. He looked at me directly. I've planned for every contingency, Lisa. You and Alessandro will be protected no matter what. I don't want contingency plans. I want us to actually be safe. We are. As safe as we can be in this world. But what world was that? His world, where power and danger were currencies? Or the normal world I'd been trying to build, one nursing class and bedtime story at a time? I need to know we're not just waiting for the other shoe to drop, I said. Azeglio set down his glass and turned to face me fully. What do you want me to say? That there's no risk? I can't promise that. But I can promise that I will do everything in my power to keep you both safe. That has to be enough. And if it's not? The question hung between us, weighted with implications. Then you decide what's next, Azeglio said finally. You always have that choice. I meant what I said 6 months ago. You're free to leave any time. I won't stop you. Even if it means taking Alessandro. His face showed pain, but his voice stayed steady. Even then, his safety matters more than my rights. You taught me that. I looked out at the garden, at the beauty and security that surrounded us, and felt the fundamental question I'd been avoiding for months rise to the surface. Was I staying for Alessandro? Or was I staying for both of them? And did it matter, as long as we were all choosing to be here? I'm not leaving, I said quietly. Not yet. But I need you to be honest with me. About the threats, the business, all of it. No more half-truths to protect me. Azeglio studied me for a long moment, then nodded. Okay, full truth, even when it's hard. Deal? Deal. We sat in silence, the night settling around us, and I wondered what truths tomorrow would bring. The call came at 2 a.m. I woke to Vittorio's voice in the hallway, sharp and urgent, followed by Azeglio's response. Too quiet to hear words, but the tone was enough. Something was wrong. I pulled on a robe and checked Alessandro's room first. He was sleeping peacefully, his stuffed rabbit clutched against his chest, completely unaware. I closed his door softly and moved toward the voices. Azeglio's study door was half open, light spilling into the dark hallway. I stopped just outside, not quite eavesdropping, but not announcing myself either. Found him 2 hours ago, Vittorio was saying. Professional work. Meant to send a message. Who? Azeglio's voice was ice. Marco Tesseri, the informant who helped us locate Serena. My blood went cold. I remembered that name from months ago, one of the people who'd provided crucial information. Where? His apartment. Single shot, execution style. No witnesses, no evidence. But this was left. A pause. Then Azeglio's voice, barely controlled. Get it analyzed. I want to know who's sending these. Sir, there's something else. The message references Alessandro by name. The floor seemed to tilt beneath me. I must have made a sound because suddenly Azeglio was at the door, finding me in the hallway. Lisa, what's happening? Who's Marco Tesseri and why? Inside. He guided me into the study, closing the door behind us. Vittorio stood beside the desk, holding a plastic evidence bag containing a black card, the same type as the ones we'd received before. Tell me, I demanded. Azeglio exchanged a look with Vittorio, then nodded. Someone killed a man who helped us 6 months ago, and left this. He took the evidence bag and held it so I could read the message embossed in silver. The boy should have stayed lost. My hand started shaking. They killed someone because he helped you find Alessandro? It appears so. And now they're threatening... I couldn't finish the sentence. They're trying to intimidate me, Azeglio said firmly. It won't work. Someone died, Azeglio. A real person died because... My voice broke. Because I kept that blanket. Because we found the evidence. This is my fault. No. Azeglio's hands gripped my shoulders. This is on whoever sent that card. Not you, not Alessandro. Them. But the logic didn't help. A man was dead because our family existed. I need to increase security, Vittorio said quietly. More men on the property, armored transport for Miss Randi's school commute, and I recommend Alessandro doesn't leave the villa until… No. I stepped back from Azeglio. No, you can't lock him inside like a prisoner. He's 18 months old. He needs fresh air, other children, normal… Normal isn't an option right now, Azeglio interrupted. Then what is? Living in fear, hiding, letting these people control our lives? Staying alive. His voice was hard. That's the option. We stared at each other, the gulf between our worlds suddenly visible again. He saw threats and countermeasures. I saw a toddler losing his childhood to paranoia. I need air, I said, and left before either of them could stop me. I found myself in the garden at dawn, watching the sky lighten from black to gray to pale pink. The beauty felt wrong somehow. Too peaceful for a world where people got murdered for helping find lost children. Footsteps on the gravel path. Azeglio appeared, 2 coffee cups in his hands. He offered me one without speaking and sat on the bench beside me. We drank in silence for a while. I'm sorry, he said finally. For Marco. For all of this. Who's doing this? We're not certain. The cards are untraceable. Expensive paper, no fingerprints, delivered through intermediaries who don't know who hired them. But the timing suggests someone from Serena's network. She had allies who lost money and influence when her coup failed. So this is revenge. Or a power play. Showing they can still reach us, still cause damage. He set down his cup. Either way, we have to take it seriously. By turning the villa into a fortress? By keeping Alessandro safe, whatever that requires. I looked at him, at the exhaustion written in every line of his face. He'd barely slept since the letters started. Every noise made him tense. Every stranger got scrutinized. Every moment of peace came with the weight of waiting for it to shatter. This is the world you tried to protect him from, I said quietly. Your world. And it found him anyway. I know. So what do we do? Run? Hide? Spend the rest of our lives looking over our shoulders? We fight. His voice was steady. We find who's doing this and we end it. How? More violence? More death? Proving you're more dangerous than they are? If that's what it takes. And there it was. The fundamental difference between us. I'd spent a year fighting to save a life. He'd spent a lifetime willing to take them. I can't, I started, then stopped. Alessandro can't grow up in a war. He won't. This will end. You don't know that. I do. Because I will make it end. He turned to face me fully. Lisa, I've spent 6 months trying to be the man you think I should be. The man Alessandro needs. But there are parts of me that don't change. This is one of them. When someone threatens my family, I eliminate the threat. Even if it means becoming what they are, even then. The honesty was brutal and somehow necessary. This was who he was. Not the gentle, father reading bedtime stories, but the man capable of violence when it served his purpose. I need to think, I said. About what? About whether this is still the right place for us. I saw the words hit him like a physical blow. You're considering leaving. I'm considering what's best for Alessandro, and maybe being here, being connected to you and your world, puts him in more danger than it keeps him safe from. You think he'd be safer without my protection? Without resources, security, everything I can provide? I think he'd be safer without people wanting to kill him to hurt you. The words hung between us, harsh and true. Azeglio stood, his control reassembling like armor. You promised to be honest about when this stopped being your choice. If that time has come, I won't fight you. But understand, leaving doesn't make you invisible. They know who you are now. They've seen you with me, with Alessandro. There's no going back to being anonymous." He was right, and that made it worse. We were trapped. Staying meant living under constant threat, but leaving meant losing the only protection we had. "I don't know what to do," I admitted. "Then let me handle it. Let me do what I'm good at so you can keep building the life you want. Trust me." Trust. Always it came back to that. I looked up at the villa, beautiful, secure, expensive, a gilded cage or a fortress, depending on perspective. And somewhere inside, Alessandro slept peacefully, trusting that the adults in his life would keep him safe. "Okay," I said finally, "but I need you to promise me something. Anything. Don't become the monster to fight the monsters. Find another way. For him." Azeglio was quiet for a long moment. "I'll try." It wasn't a promise, but it was all he could give. I returned to my room as the sun rose, but sleep was impossible. Instead, I studied for my pharmacology exam, forcing my mind to focus on drug interactions and dosage calculations, problems with clear answers, unlike everything else in my life. At 7, I heard Alessandro wake up, his cheerful babbling filtering through the walls. I went to get him and found Maria already there, changing his diaper. "Mama!" Alessandro reached for me with sticky hands. "I had dreams about dinosaurs." "Did you? Were they scary dinosaurs?" "No, nice dinosaurs. They ate cookies." I gathered him into my arms, breathing in his morning smell, and felt my resolve crystallize. This child, his safety, his happiness, his future, mattered more than anything else, more than my feelings, more than Azeglio's world, more than the comfortable life I'd been building here. If staying meant he was in danger, we'd leave. But if leaving meant worse danger, we'd stay and I'd learn to live with the fear. Either way, I was done being passive. "Maria," I said, "I need you to watch Alessandro this morning. I have somewhere to go. But your class doesn't start until—" This isn't about class. I dressed quickly, pulled my hair back, and found Vittorio in the security office reviewing camera feeds. "I need you to take me somewhere," I said. He looked up surprised. "Where?" "The police station. I want to talk to whoever's investigating Marco Tessari's murder." "Miss Randi, I don't think—" "I wasn't asking permission. Either you drive me or I call a cab, but I'm going." Vittorio studied me for a moment, then nodded slowly. "I'll inform Mr. Panicucci." "You do that." 20 minutes later, we were pulling up to the central police station. Azeglio had called twice. I'd ignored both calls. If someone was threatening my family, I wasn't going to sit in a villa waiting for Azeglio to handle it his way. I was going to find answers my way. Even if it meant walking into danger I didn't fully understand. The detective was younger than I expected, maybe 35, with tired eyes and a coffee stain on his shirt. He looked at me across the interview table like I was a problem he hadn't asked for. "Miss Randi, I appreciate you coming in, but I'm not sure what you think you can tell us about Marco Tessari's murder." "I know why he was killed," I said, "and I know who I think is responsible." Detective Caruso exchanged glances with his partner. "You have information about an active homicide investigation?" Marco helped identify someone who kidnapped a child last year. The person he helped convict had allies, people who might want revenge. "You're talking about the Panicucci case." It wasn't a question. "Yes." Caruso leaned back, his expression shifting from interested to wary. "And your connection to that case is—" "I found the child. I'm his legal guardian now." The detective's partner whispered something to him. Caruso's face hardened. You're living with Azeglio Panicucci. I'm helping raise his son. There's a difference. Is there? Caruso pulled out a folder, opened it to reveal surveillance photos. Me and Alessandro at the park. Me getting into Vittorio's car. Me and Azeglio on the villa terrace, talking in the moonlight. My stomach dropped. You've been watching us? We watch a lot of people. Comes with the territory when organized crime is involved. He tapped one photo. So, forgive me if I'm skeptical about your motives. You come in here claiming to have information about a murder, but what you really want is to know what we know. Am I wrong? I wasn't a good enough liar to deny it. A man is dead because he helped find a kidnapped baby, I said carefully. If there's someone targeting people connected to that case, then Alessandro is in danger. I need to know what you know. No, Miss Randi. We need to know what you know. About Panicucci's operations, his associates, his... I don't know anything about his business. I take care of his son. Convenient. It's the truth. Caruso studied me for a long moment. You seem like a decent person. Smart, educated, trying to do right by a kid who needs you. So I'm going to give you some advice. Get out. Whatever situation you've landed in, however comfortable it feels, it's quicksand. And the longer you stay, the harder it gets to leave. Are you investigating the threats against Alessandro or not? We're investigating a homicide. If you have actual evidence, physical evidence, not speculation, we'll look at it. But we don't have the resources to provide protection based on anonymous threatening letters. So we're on our own. You're under the protection of one of the most powerful men in the region. I wouldn't call that alone. He stood, signaling the interview was over. But if you ever want to talk about Azeglio Panicucci's activities, my door is open. I left the station with Vittorio waiting in the car, his expression carefully neutral. That went well, I said bitterly. Mr. Panicucci would like to see you when you're ready. Of course he would. Azeglio was in his study, standing at the window with his back to the door when I entered. The police think I'm either your accomplice or your victim, I said without preamble. They have photos of us. They've been watching. I know. He turned to face me. Did you tell them anything useful? There's nothing to tell. They're not going to help us. I could have told you that before you went. His voice was controlled, but I heard the anger beneath it. Going to the police without telling me was reckless. You exposed yourself, confirmed your connection to me, gave them ammunition to what? Investigate a murder? That's their job. Their job is to build cases against people like me. And you just put yourself in their crosshairs. I was trying to help. I didn't ask for your help. The words came out sharper than intended. He caught himself, took a breath. I asked you to trust me to handle this. And I'm supposed to do what? Sit in the villa and pretend everything's fine while people get killed? You're supposed to focus on Alessandro, on school, on building the life you wanted. Let me handle the threats. They're threatening my son! The words burst out before I could stop them. Not just yours, mine. I'm the one who found him, who kept him alive, who has legal guardianship and could disappear with him any time you want. Azeglio's eyes were hard. Is that what this is about? Establishing your own evidence trail with the police in case you decide to run? The accusation hit like a slap. You think I'm planning to take him from you? I think you're scared, and scared people make unpredictable choices. We stared at each other across the study, all the unspoken tensions of the past 6 months rising to the surface. I'm not taking him anywhere, I said quietly. But I'm not going to be a passive bystander in his life either. If you can't accept that, Mama? Papa? We both turned to find Alessandro in the doorway, his stuffed rabbit dragging behind him, his expression worried. Why, you yelling? Azeglio's face transformed instantly. We're not yelling, buddy. Just talking. You sound mad. Alessandro's bottom lip trembled. Are you mad at Mama? I crossed to him quickly, kneeling down to his level. No one's mad, baby. Sometimes grown-ups talk loud when they're worried about things. Worried about what? How did you explain death threats and police surveillance to an 18-month-old? About keeping you safe, Azeglio said, moving to join us. That's all. Just making sure you're always safe. Alessandro considered this, then held out his rabbit. Bunny keeps me safe too. He does a very good job, I agreed, my throat tight. Alessandro looked between us, his small face serious. You and Papa love each other. I froze. Azeglio went very still. We both love you, I managed. Very much. I know that. Alessandro's tone suggested this was obvious. But do you love each other? Like in the stories? Because families love each other. Out of the mouths of children. It's complicated, sweetheart, I said finally. Why? Because I didn't know how to love a man whose world included violence and threat. Because the line between gratitude and love had blurred somewhere along the way, and I was terrified to examine it. Because loving him meant accepting parts of his life I'd sworn I never would. Because grown-up feelings are messy, Azeglio said, his eyes on me. But what matters is we're a family. All three of us. Right? It was a question and a plea. Alessandro nodded, satisfied, and wandered off to play with his trucks in the corner. We stood there, the weight of his innocent question hanging between us. Lisa, Azeglio started. I need to study, I interrupted. I have that exam tomorrow. We should talk about. Not now. Please. I left before he could argue, before I had to confront what Alessandro had asked, and what I'd almost answered. My pharmacology exam the next day was brutal. I stumbled through questions about drug interactions and contraindications while my mind replayed yesterday's confrontation, Alessandro's question, the photos the detective had shown me. You're under the protection of one of the most powerful men in the region. Was that what this was? Protection? Or something else entirely? I finished the exam with 15 minutes to spare and no confidence I'd passed. On my way out, my classmate Sarah caught up with me. Hey, study group is meeting Friday night if you want to join. We're covering respiratory disorders. I can't. Friday's family dinner night. Sarah's eyebrows rose. You have family dinner night? That's so domestic. It was. We'd started the tradition a month ago. Every Friday, just the three of us, no staff, no interruptions. Alessandro loved it. So did I. So did Azeglio, though he'd never say it. Yeah, well, we're trying to give the kid some routine, I said. The kid you're the nanny for? Guardian. Legal guardian. Right. Sarah's expression said she didn't quite believe the distinction. Must be nice living in that villa. I saw the car that picks you up. Is the family loaded or something? Something like that. I extracted myself from the conversation and found Vittoria waiting. The drive home was quiet, my mind churning through everything. At the villa, Maria met me at the door looking worried. Mr. Panicucci took Alessandro to the pediatrician. Routine checkup, but he wanted me to tell you. Panic spiked. Is he okay? Fine, fine. Just the scheduled appointment. They'll be back soon. I tried to study while I waited, but gave up after reading the same paragraph 5 times. Instead, I found myself in Alessandro's room, straightening toys that didn't need straightening, organizing books already organized. This room had been kept perfect for 11 months, waiting for a child who might never come home. Now it was lived in, loved in, full of the beautiful chaos of toddlerhood. We'd built this, the three of us, something real from broken pieces. And now it was all at risk again. I heard the car in the driveway and went to meet them. Alessandro ran to me immediately. "Mama, doctors say I'm very healthy." "That's wonderful, baby. And brave. I didn't cry when she checked my ears." "So brave." I looked up at Azeglio over Alessandro's head. "Everything okay?" "Perfect. Exactly on target for development." He paused. "Can we talk? After dinner?" I nodded. That night, after Alessandro was asleep, I found Azeglio on the terrace again. Our usual spot for difficult conversations. "I'm sorry," we said simultaneously. That broke the tension slightly. Azeglio gestured for me to continue. "I shouldn't have gone to the police without telling you. You were right. It was reckless. I just felt so helpless, and I needed to do something. And I shouldn't have questioned your motives. I know you'd never take Alessandro from me." He moved closer. "This situation, the threats, the danger, it's bringing out the worst in both of us. What do we do about it?" "We find who's responsible and we end it. I have people working on it, but in the meantime..." He hesitated. "Alessandro asked if we love each other." "I know. Do we?" The question was so direct, so vulnerable, that I didn't have a prepared answer. "I don't know," I admitted. "I know I care about you. I know you've given me and Alessandro everything. I know when you walk into a room I feel safer, but love comes with too much history, too much complication." "Yes." "What if we stopped fighting it?" Azeglio's voice was quiet. "What if we admitted that somewhere between the alley and here, this became more than just co-parenting?" My heart hammered against my ribs. "And then what?" "Then we figure it out. Together. Like everything else." He was close enough now that I could see the gold flecks in his dark eyes, smell his cologne mixed with the scent of the night garden. "I'm scared," I whispered. "So am I." "Of what?" "Of losing you both. Of not being enough. Of my world destroying what we've built." The honesty undid me. I closed the distance between us and kissed him. It was brief, tentative, flavored with fear and hope and 6 months of unspoken want. When we pulled apart, Azeglio's eyes were wide. "Lisa!" A phone rang. His phone. The emergency line. He answered, his face going hard. "When? Where? I'm on my way." He ended the call and looked at me. "There's been another incident. I have to go." "What kind of incident?" "The kind that means this ends tonight. Stay here with Alessandro. Lock the doors. Don't let anyone in except Vittorio or Maria." "Azeglio." But he was already moving, already shifting into the man I'd glimpsed in shadows, dangerous, controlled, capable of violence. And I'd just kissed him. The weight was unbearable. I checked on Alessandro 3 times in the first hour, paced the marble floors, phone clutched in my hand. Vittorio had positioned himself at the front entrance, additional guards patrolling the grounds. At midnight, Azeglio called. "Are you okay?" I answered immediately. "I'm fine. Someone tried to grab one of my supervisors. We intercepted them. You have them? The people sending the threats?" "One of them. He's talking." Azeglio's voice was cold. "I'll tell you everything when I get home. Stay inside." He ended the call before I could ask more. I tried to sleep but gave up. At 4 a.m., I heard the front door. Found Azeglio in his study, pouring whiskey with unsteady hands. "Tell me," I said. The Gallo family, old rivals who saw Serena's arrest as weakness. They've been behind everything. The letters, the murder. He downed the whiskey. But they made a mistake tonight. We have evidence now, names, locations. So it's over. Not yet, but soon. He set down the glass. I'm ending this, Lisa. Whatever it takes. My stomach clenched. What does that mean? It means I'm going to make sure they can never threaten Alessandro again, permanently. Azeglio, don't ask me to be merciful to people who wanted to hurt our son. I can't. Our son. There has to be another way. Legal channels. The police can't protect us. You saw that yesterday. He moved closer. You can't have it both ways, Lisa. You can't want the safety I provide and condemn the methods I use to provide it. I don't want Alessandro growing up thinking violence is the answer. And I don't want him growing up at all if these people succeed. Azeglio's control cracked. I'm trying to be better, but protecting my family, that's a line I won't cross. By becoming exactly what you're protecting him from? Then what would you have me do? I had no answer, because I wanted Alessandro safe, but didn't want the cost that safety required. I don't know, I admitted. Then trust me, please. Before he could continue, Vittorio burst through the door. Sir, we have a problem. 2 vehicles approaching the north. Perimeter. They cut the fence. Everything stopped. How many? Azeglio's voice went deadly calm. At least 6 men, armed, moving toward the house. My blood turned to ice. Alessandro! I was already running. Alessandro's room was empty. The bed was rumpled, his rabbit abandoned, but no Alessandro. Alessandro! Mama? The small voice came from the closet. I found him huddled in the corner, eyes wide. I heard loud sounds. Are the bad dinosaurs coming? I grabbed him, held him tight. No bad dinosaurs, baby, but we need to go somewhere safe. Azeglio appeared with Vittorio. Panic room, now! He led us through the villa to a hidden door in his study, a steel-reinforced room with monitors, supplies, communication equipment. Stay here. Lock the door. Don't open it for anyone except me or Vittorio. Alessandro was crying now, frightened by the tension. I held him tighter. What are you going to do? I asked. End this. Azeglio looked at us, Alessandro crying, me trying to be brave, and something shifted in his expression. I'm ending this tonight. He kissed Alessandro's head, then pressed a brief, fierce kiss to my lips. Lock the door. Don't open it until I come back. Then he was gone. Alessandro sobbed against my chest. I rocked him, whispering comfort I didn't feel. Shh, baby. Papa will keep us safe. Through the monitors, I watched security teams take positions, watched intruders approach with military precision, watched the first confrontation explode in the garden, flashes of gunfire, men falling. I turned Alessandro's face away from the screens. Don't look, baby. Remember the story about the brave little mouse? I recited from memory, my voice shaking, while the battle played out in silent violence. 3 intruders went down in the garden. 2 made it inside. I watched Azeglio move through his home like a predator, hunting the men who dared threaten his family. It was terrifying. Necessary. Everything I'd feared about his world made visible, and he was doing it to save us. The last intruder fell in the hallway. On the monitor, I saw Azeglio standing over him, gun drawn, chest heaving. He said something, and the man responded. Then Azeglio lowered his weapon and spoke into his radio. Moments later, Vittorio appeared with zip ties. They were taking prisoners, not executing them. Relief flooded through me. Mama, the bad dinosaurs gone? I looked at the monitors, defeated intruders being secured, Azeglio's men sweeping the property. Yeah, baby, they're gone. 20 minutes later, a knock came at the door. Lisa, it's me. It's over. I opened it to find Azeglio standing there, clothes torn, a cut above his eye, but alive. Whole. I'm sorry, he said hoarsely. I'm so sorry you had to see this. I crossed the distance and kissed him, hard and desperate and grateful. You kept us safe, I whispered. You came back. Always. I'll always come back to you. Alessandro pushed. Between us. Papa, you have owie. Just a little one, buddy. I'm okay. Mama fix it. She good at fixing. Azeglio's eyes met mine. Can you fix this? Fix us? I didn't know, but I was willing to try. Come on, let's clean that cut, and we're all sleeping in the same room tonight. No arguments, Azeglio agreed quietly. Hours later, after police statements and Alessandro finally crying himself to sleep between us on Azeglio's bed, we lay in darkness talking in whispers. The gallows? I asked. Being arrested as we speak. The men we captured are cooperating. It's over. You took prisoners. You didn't. I wanted to. Every instinct screamed to end them for threatening you. Both of you. But I kept hearing your voice. Don't make his first lesson blood. So you chose mercy. I chose you. What you asked me to be. I found his hand in the darkness. What happens now? Now we rebuild. Make this place feel safe again. He turned to look at me. If you still want to stay. Alessandro snored softly between us, his hand resting on his father's chest. Where else would I go? I whispered. This is home. Is it? I thought about the villa, the life we'd built, the family we'd become despite everything. Yes, I said finally. It is. Azeglio's grip tightened, and we lay there in the darkness, broken but whole, terrified but together, a family forged in violence but choosing peace. Tomorrow would bring questions and consequences. But tonight, we were all safe, and that was enough. Alessandro didn't speak for 2 days. He ate when I put food in front of him, let me dress him, followed me from room to room like a shadow. But the cheerful babbling, the constant questions, the laughter, all of it gone, replaced by a silence that broke my heart. He's in shock, the child psychologist explained on day 3. Dr. Renata Moss had come highly recommended, discreet, experienced with trauma. What he witnessed was terrifying. He needs time to process, and he needs to feel safe again. How do we do that? I asked. We sat in the library while Alessandro played quietly with blocks nearby, building and knocking down the same tower over and over. Routine, consistency. Let him see that you're not afraid. She glanced at Azeglio, who stood by the window. Both of you. Children mirror the emotions of their caregivers. If you're anxious, he'll be anxious. Someone attacked our home, Azeglio said quietly. How do we pretend that didn't happen? You don't pretend. You acknowledge it happened, that it was scary, and that it's over now. You show him that the people who protect him are strong enough to keep him safe. Dr. Moss closed her notebook. And you decide what kind of environment you want him growing up in. Because right now, he's learning that danger is normal. After she left, Azeglio and I sat in silence while Alessandro continued his repetitive play. She's right, I said finally. We can't keep living like we're waiting for the next attack. The gallows are finished. 6 arrested, evidence submitted, prosecutors are building a case. It's over. Is it? Or will there be someone else? Another rival? Another threat? Azeglio turned from the window. What are you asking? I'm asking if this is what our life looks like. Forever. Panic rooms and armed guards and teaching a toddler to hide in closets. I can't promise you absolute safety. No one can. But you can promise me honesty. Is your world always going to touch his? Azeglio crossed to where Alessandro played, knelt down beside him. Hey, buddy. Can I help you build? Alessandro looked at him with solemn eyes, then carefully handed him a block. They built in silence for a moment before Azeglio spoke. When my father ran things, the violence was constant. Territory wars, betrayals, blood in the streets. I spent my childhood afraid. He placed another block. I swore when I took over that I'd do it differently. Legitimize where I could, minimize conflict, keep the family business separate from family life. But it doesn't work that way. No, it doesn't. He helped Alessandro place the top block. But I'm trying. Transitioning more operations to legitimate enterprises, cutting ties with the worst elements. It's slow, but it's happening. How slow? 5 years, maybe, to fully clean. He looked up at me. I can't undo the past, but I can build a different future. For him, for us, if you'll stay. Alessandro's tower toppled. Instead of rebuilding, he climbed into Azeglio's lap and buried his face against his father's chest. Papa, he whispered. I was scared. Azeglio's arms wrapped around him immediately. I know, buddy. I was scared too. Really. But you know what? Being scared is okay. What matters is we were brave anyway, and we kept each other safe. Alessandro pulled back to look at his father's face. We did. You were so brave, hiding in the closet when you heard strange sounds. And Mama was brave taking care of you, and I was brave protecting our home. Azeglio smoothed Alessandro's hair. We're a team, and teams stick together, right? Alessandro nodded slowly. Team, he repeated. Then, to my immense relief, he smiled. Can I have cookies now? Just like that, the spell broke. That night, after Alessandro fell asleep in my bed, he wouldn't sleep alone yet. I found Azeglio in his study reviewing contractor estimates for the garden repairs. 15,000 euros to fix the landscaping, he said without looking up. Another 8 for the bullet damage to the exterior walls. Money well spent if it erases the evidence. He set down the papers. Dr. Moss was right about all of it. This isn't sustainable. So what do we do? I'm accelerating the transition, selling off the remaining gray market operations, consolidating into shipping and real estate. It'll cost me leverage, probably enemies, but... He met my eyes. I meant what I said. 5 years. I can give Alessandro a clean legacy. And in the meantime? In the meantime, we live carefully. We rebuild. We show him that home is safe. He stood, moved around the desk. And we figure out what we are to each other. Because I can't keep pretending I don't. He stopped. Don't what? Love you. The words came out rough, unpracticed. I don't know when it happened. Maybe when you stood up to me about mercy. Maybe when you walked into that alley and saved my son. But I love you, Lisa, and I need to know if there's any chance you could feel the same. My heart hammered against my ribs. Azeglio, you don't have to answer now. I know this is complicated. I know I come with baggage and danger and a world you never asked for, but I needed you to know. I thought about the past 8 months, the fear and the joy, the violence and the tenderness, the man who'd offered me mercy when he could have destroyed me, who'd chosen legal justice over vengeance because I'd asked him to. I'm terrified, I said honestly, of your world, of not being enough. Of Alessandro getting hurt because we're too focused on each other. And I think I've been falling in love with you since you let me stay. Maybe before. I moved closer. But love isn't enough. We need trust, honesty, a real partnership, not just co-parenting. Then let's build that. Azeglio's hand cupped my face. Let me prove I can be the man you need. The man Alessandro needs. How? However you want. Whatever it takes. I kissed him. Slower than the desperate kisses during the crisis, but deeper. A promise instead of a plea. When we pulled apart, Azeglio rested his forehead against mine. Stay with me. Not in the guest wing. Not in separate rooms. Stay with me. Alessandro, we'll do it gradually. Let him adjust. But I want to wake up next to you. I want to build this life together. Properly. It was too fast and not fast enough. Reckless and inevitable. Okay, I whispered. Yes. The next morning, I woke to Alessandro standing beside the bed, staring at me and Azeglio with wide eyes. Mama? Why you in Papa's room? I sat up carefully. Because we're a family, remember? And families take care of each other. Oh. He considered this. Can I have breakfast now? Absolutely. He scrambled onto the bed between us, and we lay there for a moment, the three of us tangled in expensive sheets, building something fragile and real. Pancakes? Alessandro demanded. Pancakes, Azeglio agreed. As we headed to the kitchen, Alessandro between us holding both our hands, I caught sight of us in the hallway mirror. A family. Unconventional, complicated, born from tragedy and trauma, but ours, and worth fighting for. 3 weeks later. Mama, why is Judge Lady on TV? I looked up from my nursing textbook to see the news playing on the kitchen television. Serena Panicucci's trial had begun, and footage showed her being escorted into the Yaidai courthouse in handcuffs. That's someone who made bad choices, I said carefully, reaching for the remote. Like when I hit Marco at playgroup? Worse than that, baby. Alessandro had started attending a small, exclusive playgroup twice a week, Dr. Moss's recommendation for normalcy and socialization. He'd punched another toddler yesterday over a disputed toy truck. We were still working on gentle hands. Did she say sorry? I thought about Serena's expression in the courtroom footage, defiant, unrepentant. No, she didn't. Then she can't have cookies after dinner. His toddler logic made me smile despite everything. That's a very fair punishment. Azeglio entered the kitchen, loosening his tie. He'd been in meetings all morning with lawyers, accountants, people helping him restructure his business holdings. The transition he'd promised was actually happening. What's a fair punishment? He asked, dropping a kiss on Alessandro's head before leaning down to kiss me, still new enough that my heart jumped every time. Judge Lady can't have cookies, Alessandro informed him seriously. Azeglio's eyes flicked to the TV, his expression hardening briefly before he smoothed it away. Definitely no cookies for her. He'd been doing that, compartmentalizing, keeping the ugliness of his world away from these domestic moments. It wasn't perfect, but it was effort. Conscious, daily effort. How were the meetings? I asked. Productive. Signed the sale papers for the export operation. That's another one gone. He poured coffee. My accountant thinks I'm insane, but the lawyers are relieved. And you? I'm sleeping better at night. He met my eyes over Alessandro's head. Knowing what I'm building is clean. That afternoon, while Alessandro napped, Rosa came for her weekly visit. We'd settled into a routine. She'd arrive with fresh bread from her kitchen, we'd have coffee, and she'd tell me neighborhood gossip that felt like a lifeline to the world I'd left behind. You look different, she observed, studying my face. Happier, less haunted. Things are better. The threats are done. Alessandro's doing well. School is... I paused. I got a 96 on my pharmacology exam. Lisa, that's wonderful. She pulled me into a hug. See, I told you that brain of yours was still working under all that stress. We settled at the kitchen table with coffee and bread. Rosa glanced around the villa, still opulent, still intimidating, but she'd stopped looking uncomfortable here. And you and Mr. Panicucci? She asked. That's different too, I can tell. Heat crept up my neck. We're figuring it out. Figuring it out. Rosa's lips twitched. That's one way to put it. You're in love with him. It wasn't a question. Yes, I admitted. I am. I know it's complicated and probably crazy, but he's the father of your child, and he's trying to be better for you, and you've built a life together. Rosa's voice was gentle. That's not crazy, honey. That's just life. Messy, complicated, real life. You're not worried anymore. About the gilded cage thing? Oh, I'm always going to worry. That's my job. She squeezed my hand. But I see how he looks at you, how he listens when you talk, how he changed his whole world because you asked him to. That's not a cage. That's a man who loves you enough to become someone worthy of you. Tears pricked my eyes. I miss my mom. She should be here for this, to tell me if I'm making the right choice. Your mama would be so proud of you. You survived the impossible, saved a child, built yourself a whole new life. And you did it with your heart still intact. That takes courage. We sat in comfortable silence for a moment before Rosa spoke again. Have you thought about making it official? You and Azeglio? Official how? However you want. Marriage, commitment ceremony, just telling the world you're a family. She smiled. Alessandro's going to start asking questions soon. Might be easier to have answers. She was right. Already Alessandro was noticing things. Why some of his playgroup friends had mommies and daddies living together. Why our family looked different. I don't know if Azeglio wants that, I said. We've only been together a few weeks. Then ask him. You're not a scared homeless girl anymore, Lisa. You're his partner. Act like it. That evening, after Alessandro was asleep, I found Azeglio on the terrace, our spot for big conversations. Rosa thinks we should get married, I said without preamble. Azeglio turned from the railing, his expression startled. Does she? She thinks Alessandro will start asking questions about why we're not a normal family. And what do you think? I moved to stand beside him, looking out over the garden, fully repaired now, no evidence remaining of the violence that had happened there. I think normal is overrated. I think we're already a family, with or without paperwork. I paused. But I also think someday I might want it. The commitment. The promise that this is permanent, not just until the next crisis. Lisa. Azeglio turned me to face him. I wanted to ask you properly. When the time was right, when things were settled. But since we're having this conversation. He took my hands. I want forever with you. Marriage, partnership, whatever form that takes. I want to wake up next to you for the rest of my life and build something good with you. For Alessandro, yes, but also for us. Even though I come with student debt and a nursing career that pays nothing compared to your world. Especially because of that. You're real, Lisa. You keep me honest. You make me want to be better. His thumb traced my cheekbone. But I won't rush you. We've both been through too much to not take this seriously. What if I want to be rushed? The words surprised me, but they felt true. What if I've already decided and I'm tired of waiting for the right moment? Then tell me what you want. I thought about the 1.5 years since I'd found a baby in an alley, about the impossible journey from homeless to here, about the man who'd offered me mercy when he could have destroyed me, who'd chosen to become better because I'd asked him to. I want us to be official, not just for Alessandro, but for me. I want the world to know I choose you, I choose this life, I choose us. Azeglio's smile was slow and genuine. Then we'll do it right. Simple, meaningful, just the three of us if you want. Whatever makes you happy. I want Rosa there, and Maria and Vittorio, the people who helped us get here. Done. And I want Alessandro to be part of it. Old enough to remember, to understand that he's the reason we're a family. How long? 6 months? A year? Enough time for things to really settle, for me to finish this semester, for you to complete more of the transition. Azeglio pulled me close. A year from now, I'll marry you. I'll promise you forever in front of everyone who matters, and I'll spend every day between now and then proving you made the right choice. You already have, I whispered against his chest. We stood there as the sun set, two people who'd found each other in the worst circumstances and built something beautiful anyway. Mama? Papa? We turned to find Alessandro in the doorway, his rabbit dragging behind him. Can't sleep, buddy? Azeglio asked. I had a good dream. About cookies. He patted over and we lifted him between us. Are you and Mama getting married? Like in the princess books? Azeglio and I exchanged glances. Yes, I said. We are. Is that okay with you? Alessandro considered this with the seriousness of a judge. Will there be cake? Definitely cake, Azeglio promised. And I can wear fancy shoes? The fanciest shoes. Okay then. Alessandro snuggled between us, satisfied. Now we're a real family, with cake. We carried him back to bed together, this child who'd brought us together, and tucked him in with whispered promises about fancy shoes and cake, and forever. 1 year later. The nursing school auditorium smelled like flowers and achievement. I sat in the 3rd row with 200 other graduates, cap and gown rustling, while the dean droned through opening remarks. But I wasn't really listening. I was watching Azeglio in the audience, Alessandro fidgeting on his lap, both of them scanning the rows of identical graduates trying to find me. When Alessandro finally spotted me, he waved so enthusiastically he nearly fell off his father's knee. I waved back, heart full. A year ago, I'd been terrified, struggling through pharmacology, convinced I'd fail. Now I was graduating top of my class, with job offers from 3 hospitals. The homeless woman who'd found a baby in an alley was becoming a registered nurse. Lisa Maria Randi. I crossed the stage to accept my diploma, and the applause was louder than for other graduates. When I looked at the audience, I saw why. Alessandro was standing on his seat, clapping and shouting, "Mama!" while Azeglio tried to get him to sit down without success. Rosa was there too, dabbing at her eyes. Maria and Vittorio sat beside her, smiling. The family I'd built all gathered to watch me succeed. I'd done it. Despite everything, I'd done it. The celebration at the villa was small but perfect. Maria had made my favorite foods, and Alessandro wore his fancy shoes, light-up sneakers he'd insisted were formal wear. "Speech!" Rosa called out, raising her glass of wine. "No speeches," I protested. "Yes, speeches," Alessandro echoed, not knowing what a speech was but wanting to be included. Azeglio stood, drawing everyone's attention. "I'll keep this brief. A year and a half ago, I was a man who'd lost everything that mattered. Then Lisa walked into my life, literally ran from my security team, actually." Laughter rippled through the room. "And she gave me back my son. But more than that, she gave me a reason to be better, to build something worth protecting." His eyes found mine. Today, watching her walk across that stage, I was reminded that the strongest person I know used to sleep under a tarp, and now she's going to save lives. I'm honored to be part of her journey. Alessandro tugged on his father's sleeve. My turn. Azeglio lifted him onto his chair. Alessandro raised his juice cup solemnly. Mama is the best. She gives good hugs and reads me stories, and sometimes lets me have extra cookies. Alessandro, I laughed. It's true. He grinned, gap-toothed and perfect. At 2.5, he was all personality, chattering constantly, asking endless questions, afraid of nothing. The trauma from a year ago had faded. Dr. Moss said children were resilient, and Alessandro proved it daily. After dinner, while Alessandro showed Rosa his new puzzle, Azeglio pulled me aside. Are you ready for tomorrow? He asked quietly. Tomorrow? Our wedding day. I think so. You? I've been ready since you said yes. He tucked a strand of hair behind my ear. No doubts? No cold feet? None. You? Just one question. His expression turned serious. Are you sure you want to do this here? At the villa? We could go anywhere. The coast, the mountains, even just the courthouse. I looked around at the home we'd built together. The villa had been transformed over the past year, still elegant, but warmer now. Alessandro's artwork on the refrigerator, my nursing textbooks on the shelves, photos of us everywhere. This is where we became a family, I said. This is where it should happen. Then this is where it will happen. The next day, I woke to Alessandro jumping on my bed at dawn. Mama, it's wedding day. You're marrying Papa. I am. Are you excited? So excited. I get to carry the rings. We'd practiced his ring bearer role a dozen times. He took it very seriously. Maria appeared in the doorway. Come, little one. Let Mama get ready. You need to get dressed too. I'm wearing a suit, Alessandro announced proudly as Maria led him away. Rosa arrived an hour later with the dress we'd chosen together. Simple, elegant, cream-colored. Nothing like the elaborate gowns in bridal magazines. This was me. Your mama would have loved this, Rosa said softly as she helped me into it. I wish she could be here. She is, honey, in everything you've become. Rosa fastened the last button. Now let's get you married. The ceremony was in the villa's garden, under the same trees where armed men had once fought. But that violence felt like another lifetime now. Today, the garden was full of flowers and light and promise. 15 people attended, the ones who mattered. Rosa and Maria, Vittorio and his wife, a few of Azeglio's associates from his legitimate business ventures, Dr. Moss, who'd helped Alessandro heal. And at the front, Azeglio waited in a tailored suit, Alessandro beside him clutching a small pillow with the rings tied to it. There was no music, no formal processional. I simply walked through the garden to the man I'd chosen, the child we shared between us. The officiant kept it brief. We'd written our own vows. Azeglio went first. Lisa, you saved my son's life before I even knew who you were. You taught me that mercy is stronger than vengeance, that love is worth more than power. You chose to stay when you could have run, and you made me want to be worthy of that choice. His voice roughened. I promise to protect you, honor you, and keep choosing you every day for the rest of my life. My turn. I looked at the man who'd been a stranger, then a threat, then a partner, then everything. Azeglio, you gave me a home when I had nothing. You trusted me with your son, your heart, your future. You became better because I asked you to, and you made me brave enough to rebuild my life. I smiled through tears. I promise to stand with you, challenge you when you need it, and love you through whatever comes. We built this family from broken pieces. Let's keep building it together." Alessandro tugged on my dress. "Rings now?" Everyone laughed. We exchanged rings, simple gold bands that felt like the weight of promises kept. The officiant pronounced us married, and Azeglio kissed me while Alessandro cheered and our small family applauded. "We did it," I whispered against his lips. "We did it," he agreed. Alessandro squeezed between us for a group hug. "Now we're married too. All of us." "All of us," I confirmed, kissing his head. That night, after Alessandro was asleep and the guests had left, Azeglio and I stood on the terrace, our spot for big moments. "Mrs. Panicucci," he said, testing out the name. "I'm keeping Randi professionally," I reminded him. "For nursing. Dr. Moss said Alessandro asked her something yesterday." "What?" "He asked if you were his real mama, or if he had another mama somewhere." My heart clenched. "What did she say?" "She said, he should ask you." I looked out at the garden, remembering the terrified woman who'd found a baby in the trash, who'd had nothing but chose to give everything. "What will you tell him?" Azeglio asked. "The truth, that I found him when we both needed saving. That love makes families, not just blood." I turned to face my husband. That sometimes the best things in life come from the worst moments. Like us. Like us. We stood together under the stars, married now, official, permanent. A homeless woman and a mafia boss who'd both chosen to become something better. For each other. For the child who'd brought us together. For the family we'd built from nothing. 5 years later. "Mama, tell me the story again." I looked up from the hospital discharge paperwork I was reviewing at the kitchen table. Alessandro stood in the doorway, 7 years old now, wearing his soccer uniform and holding the silver bracelet we'd kept all these years. "Which story, baby?" "The true one. About how you found me." It was raining outside. The first real rain of autumn, tapping against the windows like impatient fingers. The sound took me back to another rainy night. Another lifetime. "Where did you find that?" I asked, gesturing to the bracelet. "Papa's study, in the special box." Alessandro climbed onto the chair beside me. "He showed me yesterday. Said when I was ready to hear the whole story, I should ask you." Of course Azeglio had. We'd agreed years ago that Alessandro deserved the truth, all of it, when he was old enough to understand. "Okay," I said, closing my laptop. "But it's a long story. I have time. Soccer practice got canceled because of the rain." I pulled him into my lap, this boy who wasn't so little anymore, and began. 7 years ago, I was living on the streets. I told him everything about losing my mother, my job, my home, about the alley behind Francesco's trattoria and the night the wind scraped like broken glass, about hearing a cry and finding a baby wrapped in silk beside the trash. Alessandro listened with wide eyes, his small hand clutching the bracelet. "That was me. That was you. The tiniest, most perfect baby I'd ever seen." Was I crying? At first. But then I held you, and you got quiet. Like you knew you were safe. "And you kept me? Even though you were homeless?" "I kept you. I didn't know who you belonged to, but I knew you needed someone, and My voice caught. I needed someone too. You gave me a reason to keep fighting." Alessandro studied the bracelet, tracing the engraved initials. "A. Panicucci, for Alessandro Panicucci, and for Azeglio Panicucci, your papa, who spent almost a year searching for you. Because he loved me. Because he loved you so much. You were the most precious thing in his world." Alessandro was quiet for a moment, processing. Were you scared when you found out who I was? Terrified. But you didn't run away. I couldn't. By then, I loved you too much to let you go. He looked up at me with those dark eyes, Azeglio's eyes, Julia's eyes. So you saved me, and Papa saved you, and then you both saved each other. The simplicity of his 7-year-old logic made me smile. Something like that. And now we're a family. Now we're a family. Alessandro slid off my lap and walked to the window, watching the rain. Do you ever miss it? The before time? Miss being homeless? No, baby. Never. But you were free then. Now you're stuck with us. I crossed to him, kneeling to his level. Alessandro, look at me. I chose this. I choose it every single day. You and Papa, you're not a cage. You're my home. Promise? Promise. The front door opened, and Azeglio's voice called out. Family meeting in 5 minutes. I have news. Alessandro's eyes lit up. News? Good news or bad news? With your father, it's usually interesting news. Come on. We gathered in the living room, Azeglio still in his suit from whatever meetings had filled his day, me in my scrubs from the hospital, Alessandro in his muddy soccer gear. I got the call an hour ago, Azeglio said, unable to hide his smile. The final audit cleared. As of today, every Panicucci business holding is completely legitimate, legal, clean. The words hung in the air for a moment before their meaning sank in. You did it, I whispered. 5 years. You actually did it. We did it. He pulled me close. You gave me a reason to. Both of you. Alessandro looked confused. Was our business not clean before? Azeglio knelt down to his son's level. A long time ago, before you came home, I made choices I'm not proud of. I worked with people who did bad things. But when your mama asked me to be better, for you, I started changing everything. It took years, but now our family business is something you can be proud of. Like Mama being a nurse? Exactly like that. Alessandro considered this. Good. Because my friend Marco's dad is a lawyer, and Sophia's mom is a teacher, and I wanted to say my family does good things too. We do good things, I confirmed, and we keep trying to do better. That's what families do, Alessandro said sagely, clearly quoting something we'd told him before. Azeglio caught my eye over Alessandro's head, and I saw everything in that glance. Gratitude, love, pride in how far we'd all come. That night, after Alessandro was asleep, Azeglio found me in our bedroom, looking at old photos. I'd pulled out the battered backpack I'd kept from my homeless days, a reminder of where I'd been. Why do you still have that? He asked, so I never forget. What it felt like to have nothing. What it cost to survive. I ran my hand over the worn fabric. And what it means that you gave me everything. Azeglio sat beside me on the bed. You gave me everything, Lisa. A son I thought I'd lost. A reason to be better. A family worth protecting. We saved each other. We did. He pulled something from his pocket, a small velvet box. I found something today. Thought you should have it. Inside was a silver medal, St. Christopher, patron saint of travelers. But not my mother's medal, a new one engraved on the back. For the journey we took together, for the home we built, for Alessandro, who brought us both to where we belong. Tears blurred my vision. Azeglio, you carried your mother's medal until you were safe. Now you carry this one, a reminder that you're not just surviving anymore, you're living. I clutched the medal, this tangible symbol of transformation. From homeless to nurse, from stranger to wife, from desperate to secure. Do you ever think about that night? I asked. What would have happened if I hadn't been in that alley? If I'd walked a different direction? All the time. And then I thank God you were exactly where you needed to be. You don't believe in God. I believe in you, in us, in whatever force put you in that alley at exactly the right moment to save my son and eventually to save me. We sat together in the quiet of our bedroom, in the home we'd built from broken pieces, and I thought about the journey. A baby left in the trash, a homeless woman with nothing to give, a father destroyed by grief, all the impossible circumstances that should have ended in tragedy. Instead, they'd ended here. The next morning, I woke to find Alessandro standing beside the bed again, but this time he held a drawing. "I made this," he announced, "for my family project at school." The picture showed 3 stick figures holding hands, one tall with dark hair labeled Papa, one medium-sized labeled Mama, and one small labeled Me. Above them, in careful 7-year-old handwriting, my family found each other. "Tell me if it's good," Alessandro said anxiously. I pulled him onto the bed between me and Azeglio. "It's perfect." "Really?" "Really, because that's exactly what we did. We found each other." Alessandro snuggled between us, satisfied. "I'm glad you found me in the trash, Mama." Azeglio choked on a laugh. "Alessandro—" "What?" "That's what happened," Mama said. He looked up at me. "And then you kept me even though you were poor and scared. That's brave." "You made me brave," I said truthfully. "And now we all have each other." Alessandro stated it like a fact, simple and true. "Forever." "Forever," Azeglio and I said together. Outside, the rain had stopped. Sunlight broke through the clouds, painting the room in gold. I looked at my son, my husband, the life we'd built from nothing, and felt something I hadn't felt in years. Complete peace. We'd started in darkness, an alley, a storm, desperation. But we'd found our way to light, together, the way families do.